All right, today we're diving into the Gemini command line interface. We're going to explore how you can get Google's powerful AI models working for you right inside your terminal, which is a huge productivity boost. And just as important, we'll cover how you can take full control over your data while you're at it. So let's jump right in.
I mean, if you're a developer, you know this pain, right? You're deep in the zone, focused, writing code in the terminal, and then you hit a roadblock. The very last thing you want to do is break that flow, pop open a browser, and completely switch context. It just kills your focus, your momentum. Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll look at why having an AI in your terminal is such a game changer. Then, we'll jump into the two main ways you can chat with it. After that, we're going to tackle the really crucial topic of privacy. And finally, we'll get into some advanced customization to really make this tool yours.
All right, Section 1, AI in your terminal. Let's talk about the why, the core problem this thing is designed to solve.
So, this is the dilemma we're talking about. Every single time you have to leave the command line, you're not just switching a window on your screen. You're actually breaking your mental model of the code. That tiny little interruption can cost you serious time and focus, and it can totally derail a good coding session.
And this, right here, is the solution. The Gemini CLI brings the AI to you. So instead of going out to hunt for answers, you can ask for a code snippet, debug an error, or even get help writing a commit message right where you are, keeping you locked in that productive flow state.
Okay, so how do you actually use this thing? Well, there are basically two different ways to go about it, and each one is perfect for a different kind of task.
It really boils down to these two modes. On the left, you've got the non-interactive mode. This is for those quick one-and-done questions. You just use the P flag, ask your question, and bam, you get an answer printed right to your shell and you move on. But on the right, you've got interactive mode. This is for when you need a real back-and-forth conversation. You just type Gemini, and you're in a chat session where the AI actually remembers what you've been talking about.
Now, inside that interactive chat, these three little symbols, they are your superpowers. A / lets you access built-in commands to manage the chat. The exclamation mark is awesome. It lets you run local shell commands like listing files with ls without ever leaving the chat. And the symbol, well, that's the real game changer. It lets you feed entire files or even whole folders to Gemini, giving it the full context of the project you're working on.
Okay, so we've seen how cool and powerful this is, but now for what is honestly the most important part of this whole thing, your privacy. This is something you absolutely need to understand before you start feeding it your code.
And look, let's not beat around the bush. This is pulled straight from Google's own policy. By default, your chats, your location, your IP address, it all gets collected. Why? To help them improve their products. The main takeaway here is super simple. What you send is not, by default, totally private.
And they keep it for how long? Well, by default, 18 months. Yeah, a year and a half. That's a long time.
So what does activity on, which again is the default setting, actually mean for you? It means your chats are kept for up to 18 months. It means that data can be read by human reviewers. And it means any sensitive info you put in there, think API keys, private code, could potentially be seen by one of those reviewers. It's really important to know that this is how it works out of the box.
But the good news is you are not powerless here. You can take back control. It's a simple two-step process. First, you go into your Google account and you turn off Gemini app activity. That stops them from collecting your future conversations for training purposes. Step 2, you go to that same activity page and you manually delete all of your past conversations. This puts you back in the driver's seat.
Now, one last really important catch here. Even after you turn that activity setting off, your conversations are still safe for 72 hours. Google says this is just to make sure the service itself can function. So off doesn't mean zero retention, but it drastically shrinks that window and, most importantly, keeps it out of the hands of human reviewers.
Okay, now that we've got the super important privacy stuff sorted, let's get back to the fun part. This is where we go from just being a user to becoming a true power user.
The way Gemini handles its settings is actually really smart and gives you a ton of flexibility. You can set rules on 3 different levels. The settings in your specific project folder have the highest priority, which is perfect for team collaboration. Those will override your personal user settings, which in turn override the system-wide defaults. It's a waterfall system, and the most specific one always wins.
Now this is where things get really cool. You can add a file named gemini.md right into the root of your project. Think of this file as a custom instruction manual for the AI. You can tell it to always follow a certain coding style guide or to always format its answers in a specific way, but only for this project.
It's like giving your AI assistant a project-specific brain.
And if you're thinking, I want to go even deeper, well, you can. You can set up something called an MCP server. The easiest way to think about it is as a bridge. It connects Gemini to your other tools. It could be an external API, a database, or even your own custom scripts, massively expanding what the AI can do for you.
So here's just a little peek at what that configuration might look like if you were using Docker. You don't need to worry about all the details, but the key thing I want you to see here is that last line. Notice how it's using an environment variable for the API key. That is absolutely best practice. It means you keep your secret keys out of your config files, which is way more secure.
And that really brings us full circle. We've seen how the Gemini CLI can keep you productive and in the zone. We've walked through exactly how to lock down your data and protect your privacy. And we've looked at how you can customize it to fit your workflow perfectly. You've got the power and you've got the control. So the only question left is, how are you going to use it?